Hey, welcome to NFT Hype, everyone. I have someone very cool on the show today, Jona of Atomic Assets. I love your product, man. I use it like almost every day now. And I've been hearing some things about things coming up, new features. I heard about auctions, I heard about other things, and I just kind of wanted to get you on the show to discuss what's coming up, and also just kind of see how your vision is on the NFT world in the future. Nice.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. It's a pleasure to meet you. And I was just commenting on your game chair there. It looks like you get a lot of work done with that thing.
Absolutely. That's essential.
Yeah. So tell us a little about yourself first off, and like anything that you'd like to share with us.
Yeah, I'm a co-founder of Pink.network together with Fabian. I founded that last year. And for the last 11 months almost, we've been working on first creating the atomic asset standard and then building Atomic Hub as the interface for it.
Did you always have that in mind to have the marketplace on top of the standard, or?
Um, kind of, but we saw it more like as if we didn't build it, then no one's going to use it anyway. So it was like this necessity. We didn't build the standard to then also have a marketplace. It was more like, well, we're building the standard already. Someone's going to have to build a marketplace. And if we're not going to do it, then no one will.
Oh yeah, it's a good idea. Where did the idea for the drop come from, and how you can have like a have a drop that's, or sorry, a link that gives out a NFT to somebody? Did that come from you guys?
Yeah, I mean, maybe someone else built that before, but just one day during development, we thought that would be cool, like sharing NFTs without even having to ask for someone's account name. You just send them a link and then they can claim it.
And it's become so popular now. I see everyone sharing those links.
Yeah, it's like when we first thought of it, we imagined that it might become popular just because of like its simplicity and you can just throw it into a Telegram channel and someone's going to claim it. And turns out a lot of people are doing that.
Yeah. Cool, man. Uh, let's get to a contentious type of topic. When GPKOS 1 first dropped, it was on simple assets, and they had a big lead in terms of adoption there. And you guys came along after. What is, in your opinion, what's the biggest like difference between both standards, atomic assets and simple assets?
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint that to a single difference. Just the standard itself has a lot of, I mean, it of course, it tries to solve the same problem, and the core ideas, the core principles are actually very similar. And I mean, that's not by coincidence. Obviously, simple assets was there before we started with atomic assets. And we agree with a lot of the big design decisions that they made. For example, that you have a single smart contract that manages all collections, whereas, for example, D-Goods, every collection would have to create an own smart contract. So like this is similar, but then there's a lot of ways in which atomic assets is different. First of all, the RAM costs for NFTs are always paid by the collection author or the creator of those NFTs, whereas with simple assets, initially it was always the one owning the NFT or transferring the NFT paying for the RAM, and now collections can enable this to pay as well. We have a different structure where simple assets, you could say it's simpler, which kind of makes sense, where you just create an NFT and that's it. And you store the data as JSON strings, which might or might not mean something to your viewers. Whereas with atomic assets, you start by creating the collection, and then you create a schema where you define which attributes there are for the NFT. And then you can even create templates before creating the actual NFTs, where templates can group together multiple NFTs and only store the data once, which initially like was meant to work as a RAM saving mechanism, which I mean, it does save RAM, but it's a lot more than that. Actually, it also helps for developing smart contracts, for example, peg contracts. I would argue that with templates, it's a lot cleaner to develop those. And then also with like this collection mechanism where you don't just have an author, but you have this collection system, you can, for example, do things like add the Atomic Drops X account to your authorized accounts list. And then this smart contract can mint NFTs for you, which with simple assets wouldn't be possible. And like there's more nuances to it. In general, we just took what was already there and we made like the changes that we thought would make interacting with the standard easier.
So I guess from what you said, it seems like there's almost like a hierarchical structure for the data to be held within atomic assets versus simple assets, where it's more of a open sort of standard, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, in atomic assets, it's like you said, it's this hierarchical structure where collections at the top, and then you have schemas defining attributes, and only then you have NFTs, which like admittedly, it makes the creation process of like getting your first NFT out there, it means there's more steps to it. But then I think the advantages that you gain from this added complexity actually like make it worth it.
Okay. Yeah, okay. And I've experienced that myself, creating some as well too, and I see the benefit of it. How would you, is there any analogy that you could give our viewers? I know it's hard to come up on the fly with an analogy, but of collection, schema, templates, is there anything that you could give us in that regard?
Yes and no. Like the one thing that I always use is collection might be Pokemon. So that's where if you maybe add, I don't know who owns the IP for Pokemon, but like let's say you do own the IP for that, you create one collection that's called Pokemon, and then you have one schema that's called like
Charizard.
no, not Charizard. You have one schema that's called maybe Pokeballs, and you have one schema that's called health potions, and you have one schema that's called Pokemon once again, because like the little monsters are called Pokemon as well, because those those are different kinds of items. And then below that you have a template for Pikachu, you have a template for Charizard, and you have templates for all of these things, and then you mint NFTs for all of them.
Okay, so like the middle layer is like a category almost.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Categories is probably a pretty good word for it.
Oh, okay, awesome. Now let's get into the auctions feature, which you've hinted somewhere on Telegram. I don't know where, but I know you hinted on it. Can you let us know a little bit about that and what you have in store?
Yeah, so like that's the one thing that has been on our to-do list for so long. It was on our to-do list before we launched Atomic Hub in the first place. We thought maybe we could even launch with it, and then we kind of realized, well, maybe it's not that important, and then we said like maybe we launch it two weeks after the official launch. And then new things started happening, and we built all these other things, but never got around to the auctions. But actually, the smart contract, the atomic market smart contract that the marketplace works with, that already supports auctions, and it supported auctions from day one. We just don't have an interface for them. And like crossing fingers here, hopefully we will soon, that's once again like one of those dangerous words.
Yeah.
We will soon have the interface for actually creating auctions where you can list one or then in the future also multiple NFTs in one auction. You define like a time for time that the auction should run for, and you define a starting bid. And then once you've created that, everyone else can bid on the auction, obviously. And once the time is over, the highest bidder wins the NFTs.
So when is soon?
That's like, the problem is I would like to say something here, but then Fabian is going to kill me afterwards.
Yeah, okay.
Because like he's the guy that then actually has to do it. And
Yeah.
if I say something now and then something else comes up, and that's never a good idea. So I'll stick with soon.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. What's your vision for the platform? Like if you see it in 1 to 2 years, 3 years out?
I mean, that's hard to say. I have like this hope for what it could be, where one thing that I think is pretty certain is that we, at least for different EOS IO chains like WAX is, and then also EOS, Telos, whatever, we will have bridges for those. I'm pretty certain of that. So that you're not locked into a single blockchain, but you can actually move around your NFTs on different blockchains. And then what I really hope to see is that we can get some like big artists using NFTs, which to an extent they're already doing, just not on WAX. I mean, they're mostly doing it on Ethereum right now. And that we can get like actual game integrations for NFTs, because that's where my background really is, where I really even started with WAX was because I was trading Counter-Strike items.
Okay.
And I think this makes so much sense for games to have these items, and like gamers already know how these work. The next step is just taking them from a centralized server to the blockchain.
Right.
And I think that's like a step that would really add value to the NFT ecosystem, but also to the gaming ecosystem where they can use NFTs.
And when you talk about a bridge, what is the major benefit of a bridge? Okay, so we can think of it from two ways. One is a total technical point of view where we understand that it's traveling from one decentralized ledger to another decentralized ledger, a distributed ledger. Like from, for example, WAX, EOS to Ethereum, for example. But what is the benefit of that? Is it just the liquidity and availability for an end user to collect?
I think a lot of it comes down to it, to at least in the beginning. Like right now, we have that's just how it is, that we have a very different community on WAX than we have on EOS, for example.
Right.
And just by creating a bridge, you allow these communities to interact with one another, whereas right now they're pretty much locked into their ecosystem. And then also further down the line, it might solve scalability issues. Like if you have really high frequency applications that use NFTs, then maybe at some point they don't fit on a single blockchain. And then they need to create, like, either you can call it side chains, or maybe it's a sister chain or whatever, but you want to have more chains to increase the volume that you can put through, like the volume, the amount of transactions that you can process. And then you also need to bridge them over from one blockchain to another.
So let's get technical for a second. When you have, let's say, a WAX NFT and you bridge it over to EOS, do we keep the ID number? Also, do you burn it on WAX if it goes to EOS and vice versa?
That's like implementation dependent, and we're not 100% sure. One thing that I can tell you, you will most likely keep the ID of the asset, because we've actually already made sure, like when we deployed atomic assets on EOS, and also we also already deployed it on Telos, that we use different starting IDs so that they don't overlap. So like on WAX, you start with one ID, and on EOS, you start with a way higher ID, so that those IDs will never overlap. And even if you bridge them, they can still be unique. The problem to solve is then, like, how do you move over collections and schemas and templates, or do you move them over, or do they first have to be created manually? There's like all sort of complexity that I think can be solved, but like not trivially solved.
Okay, interesting. And how far are we away from, say, taking a OS1 GPK sketch from WAX to EOS, or Ethereum for that matter? I'll just slip that one right in there.
That's like longer than soon, but not forever. That's one of those things that's also hard to say. Like, I think we're not going to see it in the next 4 months or something. It's not like right around the corner, but then at the same time, it's something that like we want to solve. We want to solve it mainly for WAX to EOS, and I think the WAX team want to solve it for WAX to Ethereum, which both are like valuable. And you need different approaches to solve these. I don't know how long it will. I don't know what the WAX team plans on doing. I doubt it will be like in the next months as well. I think it's still a bit further down the line, but not like in 3 years. I think it's
Okay.
sooner than that. It's definitely coming at
Okay.
some point.
I like that. I like that. Thanks for that. Now, something that I've been personally experienced with is fakes and plagiarisms. And I know you guys have been working hard on verifying artists and also creating, I believe now it's a two-tier system where you have one check mark and two check marks. How challenging has that been? And also, how do you see that process getting better and scalable?
Yeah, so as you said, we when we started with Atomic Hub, what we had was simply a blacklist, and like we called it a whitelist. So on a blacklist, we put collections that we know are scams, and then when they're on the blacklist, we just don't display them on Atomic Hub because we don't want our users to see them, obviously. And then you said it, before that, we only had like this one verification layer where we just verified the collections that we thought were legit. Like, for example, if we verify blockchain heroes or Cox, because like, those guys won't do, they won't try to scam you. And by giving this verification layer, it doesn't actually change anything on the blockchain. The only thing that it does change is how we display it on Atomic Hub. And when a user sees a verification, then at least they know like it's probably the legit. They shouldn't just switch off their brain then, of course, but that's like one indication. And the more important thing actually is when they don't see the verification. So when they're expecting to buy an NFT that always was verified, and then all of a sudden they don't see a verification and get like this warning, then they probably start to think and realize that it is a counterfeit NFT. And what we've now done is, like you said, we switched to a 2-layer system because on Atomic Hub, we're only displaying verified collections by default. So that means you can't really get started as an artist if you're not verified. And so that leads to us verifying quite liberally, because like what we can't say like, yeah, you first need to create some transaction volume, but at the same time, you're not verified, so you can't create any transaction volume. So we verified it quite liberally. And to now still have like this differentiation of someone that we just verified because they're probably legit, and these big projects like Blockchain Heroes and Cox, we now have a second layer of verification where the really big projects and the really trusted projects get level 2 verification, and the ones that we've looked at and we've not seen anything bad with them and we think it's original art, what we don't really know, those get level 1 verification.
Interesting. Yeah, I've unfortunately had the experience of buying a piece and then finding out it was ripped off from somebody's Instagram feed, and I guess it wasn't verified, but I was always hoping that this looked like somebody who would be verified, and then it turned out that they were actually plagiarizing. So it's kind of like a community sort of community sourced type of way to point out fakes like that too would help out. I suggested in your Atomic Assets chat that we have like um, a thumbs up, thumbs down on collections. However, I do see that being a scalability issue for you guys if you guys had to possibly verify thousands and thousands of artists, right?
Yeah, so I think the problem with like you can't ever completely outsource it to the community, because that will always be like gameable and attackable by someone creating a lot of accounts, for example, or like there's a lot of ways that this could be exploited, where people either verify something that is a scam or they blacklist something just because they don't like it. And we want neither of those, of course. So like right now we're still doing everything on our own. But at the same time, what can definitely be valuable is having like just a way for the community to report something. And then if we see like something has 10 reports, then we look at it and we don't just immediately blacklist it, because that's like can be gamed, but then at least we know we should probably take a look at it. And that's certainly valuable. at some point we might even have to look at just hiring someone to look through verification requests, because that's like one of those things I think you can, like I said, you can't really completely outsource it to just the community. That's too dangerous. And of course, like we're talking only about Atomic Hub. We're not talking about Atomic Assets as a whole. So we're responsible for what we display on Atomic Hub, like also in a legal way. And so we also need to be like in control, and completely outsourcing that is giving this control away to an extent that I think wouldn't be healthy.
Yeah, fair enough. Of course, you have to keep those things in mind. And that sort of brings up a question regarding your drops as well. Like, how does one get in contact with you to do a drop on Atomic Assets? And do you guys prefer doing a drop within your website, or do you suggest projects have their own website to do drops and mint it on the Atomic Assets standard? What is your criteria, and what is sort of if you were to, let's say, convince a project to drop on your hub versus consider their own website, what thoughts would you have for them?
Like, I'm assuming you mean drop as in like selling packs or something like this?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like there's no definite right answer. And for example, with the Go Pepe collection, they just, we had no idea that they existed until one day they just popped up, and a week later they had their sale and pack opening, and all developed by them in-house. And except for like a small hiccup at the beginning, it all worked perfectly fine. And that's honestly like pretty exciting to see that some people can now build things like this on Atomic Assets without even having to contact us in any way, because like it means that people are actually using it. At the same time, like we are of course building these features for Atomic Hub, like primary sales and then also pack openings, which like we only did one on Atomic Hub so far, which was the Crash Gordon pack, which was kind of ugly because there was like very little time to prepare for that. But we want to make it better, and we're also working on like our own system to distribute packs or distribute the cards in packs as pre-mints, so that the mint numbers will be randomized when you unbox them. And like all of these things, those require a lot of effort to develop. And if someone wants to work with us directly, like that might make sense for them, because like then they don't have to develop it. It might be cheaper for them, and the users already are on Atomic Hub. And if we have like this experience that the users are used to, that might add value. But then if you want to do more customized stuff, then I mean, sure, just build your own website and build it yourself.
Yeah, fair enough. You just brought up a topic that I just want to get your personal opinion on. You mentioned mint numbers. Are you a collector? Do you sort of collect yourself? And what do you think about mint numbers?
Well, I've sort of stopped doing any of this. I think there's like hundreds of people that have used Atomic Hub more than I have at this point, because I'm building smart contracts and all this stuff, but I'm never actually using Atomic Hub, and I'm not really getting around to collecting it. I have like some cool artwork NFTs, and sometimes I open just one pack just to try it out, but I don't actually collect them myself often. And like these mint numbers, they've just, like after the first GPK launch, they just sort of, when the first website started displaying them, all of a sudden people started to care.
Oh yeah.
And we didn't really expect that, but then like if the people care, that's cool. And I think it actually adds like this value to the cards, where if you just have 100 Atomic Atom common cards and they all look the same, then that's boring. But if you have like a number one mint, or just any mint number Atomic Atom common card, then you really understand that they are non-fungible. They really are different from one another. And people started caring about those, so we started displaying those. And as people started caring so much about low mints, like where with all previous pack openings, the low mints were always just the first packs opened because they were just minted in this order. I think that's like a problem because it takes away from the excitement once all the low mints are gone in the first minute, and then nobody is excited about opening packs anymore. And I think that's not the great experience. So that's why we are building, actually already have built our system to pre-mint NFTs and then give them away randomly in a way that the mint numbers as you're opening packs will also be randomized.
Oh, so you've built that already, and any future drops could possibly use that on Atomic Assets?
The Uplift art drop will actually use it on the 15th of November.
Oh, good. Good to hear. Michael Blue is always innovating and doing cool things, that's for sure.
He absolutely is. And like, I think just like anyone watching this, you really want to watch this drop because there's not just random mint numbers, there's already also the art, which really makes a lot of sense. And it's not like cheaply putting together some art. It's like high quality art. It really makes sense. It has different rarity levels, has these gamifications where you can throw in 10 NFTs of one rarity and you get out an NFT of the next highest rarity, and also have a small chance of getting like this mythic level rarity that you can't get in packs directly.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, like, that's why we're working with him. He's really innovative, and we had these ideas of and the capabilities of making this happen. And I think it's going to be a really, really exciting launch to watch.
Yeah, I believe so too. We should you guys should keep like top music videos NFTs on your Atomic Assets, and he'll be the #1 for a long time now, right?
Probably.
Yeah. How do you fund your Atomic Assets? Is that through your block producing stuff, or we just want to, the reason I ask is we want to know that the standard is going ahead and it's healthy and we can see it for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of just funding it because we're not really paying money. We're just putting in our own energy, and the amount of energy that we put into Atomic Assets has been really, really big. Like, we just into Atomic Assets and like the whole developer ecosystem around it with the APIs, that's easily 2,000 hours sunk into just that, where we never made any money from that. And that's just because like we just decided we wanted to build this, and we knew that it wouldn't pay off financially, really. But now, I mean, now we're actually like more incentivized also financially, of course, to keep developing it because we have Atomic Hub attached to it. And we've got some funding through WAX Labs, but only for Atomic Hub, not for Atomic Assets itself. And I guess like if in the future, then we probably can get funding through WAX Labs for Atomic Assets, although I don't think we want to do that. Like, Atomic Assets is still, in this sense, a passion project that we just keep developing on. So like, funding is secured in the way that Fabian and I are still very passionate about developing it. And we don't necessarily need to see money for our efforts for that directly.
Yeah, and obviously some of the economy is built in when you get fees from people selling NFTs, right?
Yeah, of course. Like, now with Atomic Hub being, I mean, like, just if you compare what we're earning through Atomic Hub right now with the effort that Fabian and I are putting in, it's still not a huge amount of money. But I mean, that's never the reason why we started it. It never was the reason why we started it. And we just keep building it.
That's cool. I like that. It's awesome to have you guys as part of the ecosystem. How are you and Fabian got together, like as business partners?
Well, we've met each other in high school. Okay. So like, we've known each other for, what is it now? 11 years, maybe, I think around 11 years. And like, we've always been friends throughout that. And also before starting with pink.network, we've also worked on projects together, but like smaller projects, but still, like, we wanted to build some stuff before that. And then when the WAX mainnet launched And there was this build on WAX competition held where the WAX team put up a prize pool of $25,000 with 10,000 going to the first place. And they just said, like, you have 2.5 weeks time. Now the mainnet is launched and whoever builds the coolest application wins. And when we saw that, because we've already been watching WAX before, like since they started essentially, we saw that competition and we just thought like we could probably compete in that. And just we built a decentralized bankroll back then with like a small example page, gambling page that uses this decentralized bankroll. And we managed to win the first place in that. Then we moved to becoming guilds, so block producers on WAX, and well, then started building atomic assets.
The rest is history, as they say, right?
Yeah.
What are you excited about coming up? Like, I know there's Atari announced yesterday. There's Capcom coming up hopefully soon. There's a number of projects. There's MBlue's project, Uplift Art, and GPK 3, 4. Who knows? What about everything you know about now? What are you excited about, and you might actually collect?
I'm actually like just also moving on this collecting. I always feel like kind of like I shouldn't collect the things that I built myself. I feel like that's just because, like, imagine I get a very rare card and then, I mean, I know that it's provably fair, but then people always think like maybe he just rigged the odds or something. I don't want that to happen.
Why does Jona have all the #1 mints?
Yeah, I mean that would be bad. That's like why I'm staying mostly out of it. But I mean, there's so much happening. Like just in the next month or two, we will see so many launches.
Well, how about I put it this way, Jona? How about I say what features that you know, like we talked about auctions, but what upcoming features and updates to Atomic Hub that are you most excited about coming up in the next while?
I think the most exciting feature for users will likely be when we build our pack creator, where then everyone will be able to create their own packs directly on Atomic Hub without any coding knowledge.
Oh, wow.
I think I'll put it as soon as well, but a bit farther out than auctions, but a bit sooner than cross-chain bridges. Like we want to get that done relatively soon. And I think a lot of soon, right?
Yeah, we need to have like adverbs before the soon, relatively soon and very soon, and you know.
You never know, but I think that's going to be exciting when I mean, of course, not all of them will then sell $100,000 worth of packs all of a sudden, because I mean, that's not going to work. But still, I think a lot of people, like, they use our atomic drops feature now, and like they use the atomic the NFT creator before that. I think they will just use it to create their own fun NFTs. And like, I know there's this big hurdle to actually build your packs right now, because you need to know, like, you need to develop a smart contract, you need to have a user interface for that. That's not something that an average user will be able to do. But when we have this pack creator, users will actually be able to do it.
Okay, and does that take care of payments and everything too?
Well, I mean, those are two separate systems where we also want to properly integrate the drops that we have right now, where you can essentially hold primary sales. We also want to build a proper interface for that. I could say that's coming soon.
So what a surprise.
Yeah. It's always hard to say, but I mean, that's coming. Then you can properly sell your packs with that. I mean, you can create your packs through the pack creator, set up the odds and everything. Then you set up a primary sale page for your pack NFTs. I think that's going to be exciting.
Okay. Yeah, I think those are very exciting updates for sure. Well, I mean, thanks for joining me today. That was a real great, short and sweet interview. I think there was a lot of information there for my viewers and our viewers. And cheers, man, and thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Oh, yeah.